Hi viewer, thank you so much for clicking on this video. You are welcome to my YouTube channel and I am CrownDev. Please don't go without subscribing to my YouTube channel and also click the notification bell. So in the course of today's tutorial, we'll be looking at card in HTML, and at the end of this tutorial, our goal is to be able to create this type of profile card with a sweet animation like this. So the profile card, we have a front page and also have a back page. Now you can see this is the front page of the card. It says CrownDev 1 million followers. Then when you hover on it, it turns the back to you, telling you mighty developer, 3 million followers, 0 following. So we'll be able to create a profile card like this with this type of animation. But before then, I prepare some notes on card for us that we can just run through before we go into our practical. So what are card in HTML? In HTML, a card is a flexible and extensible content container. It means our card must be responsive. Since it is flexible, it should be able to adjust to different screen and device orientation when they are changing. That's why it is flexible and it is extensible. So a card can include various types of content such as images, text, links, and buttons, often arranged in a visually appealing way. So in one word, a card is used to display content or information to users in a visually appealing way. For this tutorial, we said we are building this type of profile card. It's just a screenshot of it. That when you hover on it, it turns the back of the card to us and tell us more about another user. So let's get in for the business of the day. So I have my HTML file already and my CSS file. Let me copy some colors that I will need. I will need these colors. Let me also open a live preview. Let's set up our HTML file. All right. Now let me link our CSS file, index.css. Let me call this cards. So what is the first thing we need? We need, okay, so let's start. Let's create, let me remove this from here. Oh, sorry. So let's create a div, our live preview. Let's not forget. So let's create a div and call it card count. So index.css now, body, padding 0. And now let me call the web element dot card count. Now background, I already have the background there. That's why I needed these colors. This is the background I'm giving in. And sorry. Now it's not reflecting anything because we've not specified the width and the height of the container. So say width 250 pixel and height 400 pixel. Now, so let's move this our card to the container. Now, since this is the only thing we're going to be having in this web page, this is what we're focusing on. We can just make everything in the HTML file to be at the center. So we can say display, flex, justify content, center, allow items, center, but it's not taking effect. So let's specify the height 100 VH. Now, good, we are set. We've have this already. So now let's start building our profile card. Now we need a profile picture. Now let me create a div and give it a class profile pic. And this profile pic, let me add the image. I already have the image in my folder. Now this image, when I'm adding it, is going to be very big, almost filling the entire screen. That's because I've not specified the width and the height of the image. All right. So now let me work on the image. Now dot profile pic. Now I'm calling the image tag in dot profile pic. I'm calling it by the tag. Now let me say width to be, let's say, 80 pixel. Then border radius to be 50%. That's a circle. Now let's move it. It needs to be at the center. So we need to move it to the center, but we can't move it on this image. We need to move the entire div. That the div is just like a container where the image is located. So we can just say dot profile pic display flex justify content center. So now it's at center. Since I'll be using this particular code so many times, let me just create something called dot flex, then put it inside. So in this profile pic now, I can just come to my HTML and give it a class. I give it a class of flex. Now there's a gap between this profile picture and the container. So let's come here and say, now we're going to call this where the image is contained profile pic dot profile pic, and let's give it a margin top to specify the space between this profile picture and this top. The margin top, let's just say 20 pixel. Yes, so it looks like this already. Now there's something around the profile picture you can see, that's around the borders of the picture. So in our CSS, we can just specify on the image and say border 2 pixel solid red. Now you can see it's also appearing there. Now if you discover this, the size of this container is not as sharp as this, so we can also specify it in our CSS. So we're working on this container now, so that is the card count. So we can specify it and say, what is it, border radius, let's just say, let's look at 7 pixel or 5 pixel. Yeah, so you see it's not as sharp as it is. So the more, let's say we say 50 pixels, it's going to bend, see, or just need it, we don't need it to be too sharp. So I said 50 pixel, we don't need to be too, just need a little. So 5 pixel. Now the next thing here is CrownDev. So now this for the name class, or let's say name, let's put in a span CrownDev. Now it's showing here, but the color is black, so we need to dot name, color white. So it needs to be at the center, so we can just call our flex here on the container flex. So it's there. So let's look at it. Now there's space between this profile picture and the name. So we can just give it a margin top. I see that the crown dev is bold. So in our CSS, we can say dot name, and we call the first child in it nth child 1. So this calls the first child in dot name. We can say font weight 700 to make it very bold. You can see margin top, let's say 10 pixel. So it creates a gap between the profile picture and this name. So the next thing is 1 million followers or 5 following. So let's have a div class. Let's call it status. Let's have span or 1 million followers. 1 million followers. And 0 following. Let's say it is within 1 million followers, 5 following. So dot status, let's add a flex to it. Flex. Then dot status. Dot status. Now we can give it color white. Then let's give it a gap of, let's say 20 pixel. Let's say 30. Let's look at 35. Now, of 1 million followers. So, a small letter, 1 million followers, and let's reduce the gap to 30. So, give it a margin top of 10 pixel. Now, the next thing, we have a brief intro, proficient web developer, both front end and back end. So, let's come here again. Let's have a div. Let's call it, let's give it a class of about. And it says proficient. Oh, I'm putting in span. Proficient. Then you put the about dot about. Color white. So can we see what we're writing? Proficient web. Proficient web developer. Web developer. Boot. Let's have another span. Boot front end and back end. So let's enter it. Let's flex it. Now in the dot about, we did flex. So it's already carrying this property of display flex. Just by content center, allow item center. But let's specify the flex direction this time around. Flex direction, we want it to be column. So you see proficient web developer, put front end and back end. proficient web developer. Back end. Now you can see it's in italic form and the color is not white. So we can specify the color silver, then font style italic, then margin top 20 pixels. Yeah, proficient web developer, both front end and back end. See 1 million crown dev, 1 million followers, 5 following. Now the next thing is these buttons here, message and following. So can come here. Now class. Now what we want to do, let's call it buttons. Buttons. Let's put the first button here. Message. And the second button. Following. So let's move it to the center by flexing it. Calling our flex property. Now let's give it some gap. Dot buttons. Dot buttons. Gap 20 pixels. Yeah. Let's see the gap. Okay. It's okay. Now let's call the first child in buttons. Like this is a div called button. So you understand what I'm doing. Let me maintain some kind of white space. Now this is the first child in buttons. So let's call it also now dot buttons and child one. Now background. So I have the color here already. Cyan. Background. Yeah. So let's say padding 7 pixel width on height. Now let's move to the second child. Second child dot buttons and child 2 background. So we don't have any background. Yeah, just like this. Then border, especially the border color. That is, the border means this, all these corners around this. Let's say so 1 pixel solid. Oh, white. So the color should be white. Color should be white. Now let it have this also. Yes. Now let's give them a margin top. So so oh sorry, the border. Look at the border around it. So let's say border radius. Let's say 7 pixel. No. 5. No, 4. Yeah, 4 should go. Border radius 4 pixel. So now let's increase the gap of the top. Let's say 15 pixel. Now the reason why I'm putting the margin top here and not putting inside all these buttons, because if I put the margin top now, it will only work, or we are specifying the first element child here. That is this message. So if I put the margin top here and I say 50%, it will only be applicable to this margin top. So it moves it down from, see, they are no longer aligned. So it will only be applicable to this, but I want it to be applicable to both. That's why I'm specifying it in the container that contains the two. So the next thing is this skills. Now the class skills. Now, okay, this is, let me give it a skills. Background, I have the color already. With then so I'll be able to see it. Height, let's say 150 pixel. Now this is the background. If you are not careful, you will not discover it. Look at it, it's different from this shade. This is the background I'm working on. So I want it to cover to this card. So let me increase it little by little. 80 pixels, 100 pixels, 120 pixels, 130, roughly. So this 130. Let's look at 135. Yeah. So oh, let me reduce it to 100 and give it a margin top. 30 pixels, 30, 35. Yes. So now we can continue. Skills. So let's get a div. Give it a class called list. And in this list, let's have some buttons. So in the dot list, okay, HTML, CSS, React, JavaScript. Another div. Also, let's give it a class still of list. Now, button as a Django. Node.js and Flask. So now this is skills. We have lists, and under list we have buttons. So let's work on the buttons. Dot list buttons. Button. We're calling the tag element itself. So now background none, color white. Once again, can we do this? Border 2 pixels solid white. All right, let's reduce it to 1. Okay, now let's now see, let's flex it. Flex, flex. So put it at the center. Now let's give them a gap, or now our list, let's give it a gap of 10, or oh no, 15 is too much. 13. Then I want to give space between this element and this element, so I'll do that under scales. But first, let me flex it. Nope. Okay, flex it. Then dot scales. Let's specify flex direction now. Column. Yeah. So everything, the flex class that we defined, flex it, makes it at the center. But here we are specifying the flex direction to be column. Now let's give it a gap 20 pixels. So yeah, almost like this. See, this is even starting from the front spot. Let's leave it like this. It looks more better like this. So now let's write on this place, right, like span skills. So let me call this text. Now I want to do some things. Text color white. So let's say justify content start. Start. So we might make it to start from the end. So it now looks like this. 1 million followers, 5 following, CrownDev, project web developer, both front and backend, button for message, and following. We also have skills. Listen, the skills we have HTML, React, CSS, JavaScript, Django, Node.js, and Flask. Now, to perform this animation, you see, if you discover what is at the front page here, it's also what is at the back page. We just change the name, the followers, etc. So now, I have a container called card cont. Now, if you check it, this is the div card, and here's the closing div. So let's copy everything within it. Let's cut everything. Now, we want to have both front page and what back page. So let's call this front page, and let's call this back page, Now let's give them the two a general class page inside, where everything inside is card counts. So we have the front page, we have the card. So in this front page now, we now want to have this content, right? Now in the back page, we also want to have this content. Now see, everything is still showing here, but now it's going to move to the back. Follow me thoroughly. Now where is it? This is the back page. We want this to be mighty developer, this to be 3 million followers. Then the profile picture also changes to slash image to this. Now this is what we want to be at the back. Now in our index.css, first we need to call the card count. We need to specify same perspective 1000 pixels. Now transform style preserve 3D, then position relative. Now remember we gave the two of them a general name called page. Now let's call that page, that class dot page. Now make this page to be absolute to its position absolute. Now the two of them are here, but now they're already on the same page. Now I want to take this to the back now, but we need to say back face visibility should be hidden. Now then the particular div we want to be at the back page, now we're not going to call it now. That is the back page dot what back page. Now we're not going to use our transform and rotate it 180 and rotate it in the y axis at 180 degree. It has disappeared. It's already at the back. Well, we can't see it yet. Now we want that when we hover on this, it turns its back and show us the content at the back. So the next thing for us to do now is when we hover on this is the card count. So we specify dot card count. Now when we hover on it, dot card count hover. When you hover on it, yeah, what should happen? We want it to also transform and rotate at the y-axis at 180 degree. Now in this card count, let's add some transition style. Let's say transition all. We'll make a video about transition and animation. This is practical. We'll add an animation to it. Transition all, transition duration, let's say 2 seconds. So now let's check. It flips when we hover on it. CrownDev. See, don't forget we have our first content, we have our front page, everything inside the front page, and we also have our back page, everything inside the back page. We give them a general class called page. Now the inside a container called card count, a div. Now in that div, what do? We made that div, we gave it a perspective of, sorry, it should be perspective of 1000 pixels. It has a reason. Perspective 1000 pixels, transform style, preserve the 3D. That is the animation we are working with. They will make it relative and make this page, this general class name we give the two of them, we make it absolute to it. Now we now specify our hover. Now the element we want to be at the back page, we now specify it back page. Then we transform, rotate it y80 degree, we rotate it to the back. Then when we now specify our hovering effect, that when we hover on it, you should rotate it 180 degree. Now without this transition and all of this transition or transition duration, our animation will not be smooth. It will just rotate. See, it just appear. It do not show us. But with this transition add a smooth transitioning from the front page to the back page. I hope you are able to learn new things on my YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the notification bell. You can also join my WhatsApp community. Thank you very much for watching.